Hi, everybody. So, we are here to talk about the third episode in the Gilmore Girls revival, A Year in the Life. And we're talking about the summer episode. And my friend Abby's here. And you want to say hi?
Hi.
Yeah, and Abby's a huge Gilmore Girls fan. I was more of a casual fan. So, it's been really fun for us to talk about these episodes, kind of dive into them. And this will be a spoiler filled podcast. And so if you haven't seen the episode, go ahead and watch the episode and then come back and then watch the podcast. So I do have the chat room open. If you have any comments, if anyone has any comments about the episode, this one was a lot of fun, I thought. And I guess we should start out our overall thoughts. And this was definitely by far my favorite of these three, personally. And so I just thought it was by far the most fun, the most light, and not that I mind there being darker elements, but I just felt like everybody was pleasant, and I was rooting for them, even when they were going through hard things like breakups and stuff like that. They were just like people that I liked, and that I enjoyed sort of seeing their stories in this compared to the other episodes, and I as a musical theater junkie, I really kind of dug the musical. So we'll talk more about that. But what were your overall thoughts of this one in comparison to the three, and just in general as a fan?
I did really like it. It was a lot of fun, and it had a lot of those elements that we're looking for when we watch something that's Gilmore Girls. I don't know if I liked it better than Winter or not. Winter is partially colored with just the excitement of getting to see Gilmore Girls again.
Yeah.
So I might have it elevated in my mind above where it really belongs. But summer was really fun. I enjoyed it. And I did enjoy the Stars Hollow musical thing. And there was a lot that I appreciated about it. I think that Rory was in some ways a little more likable. We saw her get passionate about something and do her thing, and that was kind of fun to see. That's been missing from this series.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, just with all of them, we saw them all just kind of, I don't know, it just sounds like a lame critique, but just being nice and being pleasant people that I liked spending time with. And of course, you need conflict in a series. I get that, but I don't know. You can have conflict, and you can have all of those. You can have hard things happen while still keeping your characters likable.
Right.
And
turning into total jerks.
Yeah,
every time something happens.
Especially compared to last episode, like I just was like, "Yay, woohoo!" Because I really wasn't a fan of the spring episode that much. It had moments, but it
was definitely my least favorite one so far.
Right. Yeah. So we have some commenters. We have some in the chat room. It's awesome. And Alicia King says, I liked it. Still lots of resolutions I'm watching for in the fourth episode, but definitely better than spring. So there you go. Agreed.
Alicia is like my best friend, by the way.
Oh, okay.
I just got her into Gilmore Girls in the last year, and I made her watch it with me. And she didn't really get into the series until like season 4, but by the end of season 4, she was totally hooked.
All right, good. And Bianca Corinne, is she also your friend?
No, but I've seen her online.
Oh, good. Okay, well, Bianca's on also in the chat, and she says, I was so happy to see Jess. So, yeah, we'll talk about that, too, because that was really fun. So, all right. So, here's my question, though. So, I really liked this episode, but my question is, did it seem like they skipped an episode? I felt like I needed a bridge between spring and summer. Like, these felt like, I know it's months, and I get that, but it felt like more than months. Like, these felt like radically, to me, different characters in between episodes.
I agree that it was like it it didn't transition as well. Winter, I felt like transitioned okay to spring.
Mm-hmm.
But then the spring to summer transition, there kind of wasn't one. It was just kind of, oh yeah, suddenly this is happening.
Yeah. It just seemed so different. And I don't know. I was kind of like, I need that filler. I need there to be a spring part 2 or something like that.
Well, and it really helps, like at the end of winter, Lorelai realizes, oh crap, I've agreed to do therapy with my mom.
Uh-huh.
And then the first thing we see in the spring episode is her in therapy with her mom.
Right. That's
So
true.
that helps kind of like give you that continuity of, even though it's a totally different season, they have some new things going on in their lives, we're continuing this story from before. Where with this one, they just kind of start out hanging out by the pool.
Yeah.
And there's nothing really related to the previous episode in the very beginning there, so it's just kind of like...
Well, and it's weird how, like, all of Rory's work that she'd been doing, all of it is gone. Like, everything. And I didn't get that impression from the last one that, like, I don't know, that there was nothing left. And so that maybe that was also part of it, that it was like, wait, I'm confused. Yeah, so.
We did have kind of fizzled out and in that space, but we never really saw that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. So let's keep moving on. So did you like seeing April? And it was interesting because Luke says April's mine and won't allow Lorelai to help. Did that surprise you that he said that? What did you think of that in April?
I don't know. I guess he's still hanging on to that fear that April will like Lorelai better and stop loving him from the series, maybe. But I enjoyed seeing April. I thought what they did with her was pretty funny, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And I liked that she and Rory kind of have bonded and are friends, and that she was able to go to Rory for advice.
Yeah, that was nice, I thought, and I thought they did a good job with the dialogue in that scene. I thought it was funny. I don't know, just the banter between all of them, I thought was well done, and I kind of bought her character as this sort of poser college student. Kind of worked. I thought it was funny.
Yeah.
And to me, I think it was actually like more important, this sort of moment between Luke and Lorelai, than just sort of a competitive situation. Like, I think it is emblematic of maybe the problems in their relationship, that, and you see that throughout the rest of the episode kind of play out, where Lorelai has kept everything separate and has sort of put Luke in this box, that this is what you're allowed to do. And I think that her coming into that box and saying, like, I want to help you with that box, no, this is all I got. This is all you've given me. And
yeah, you're right about that.
And so you're not going to take this one spot that I have.
Yeah. I find in this one, I feel like we have a full sense of what's going on in their relationship, and it's disappointing to me that Lorelai is so stuck, that she's so unable to like get past this inability to really like open up her life to another person and completely share. Like, she can't do it, and that's frustrating to me.
Well, but she expects everyone else to do it. Like, she expects everybody, and maybe we're all guilty of this to a fault, is we expect perfect behavior from everyone else, but we immediately forgive imperfections of ourselves.
Right. That's kind of human nature.
Yeah. So let's see. Alicia says, it's sad to me too that Lorelai still can't let anyone in. So yeah, and I think that that Luke's just such a nice guy that he avoids conflict,
Yeah.
And this was probably as much conflict as he's ever going as a human being. That's like high conflict for him, being like, no.
Yeah,
So,
that's true. And like she kind of takes advantage of that, you know?
yeah.
Like she takes advantage of him in a lot of ways, and I don't really appreciate that.
Yeah. Definitely. All right. So that was interesting. And so what did you think of this idea of Rory being back? And you know, that's sort of the joke throughout the course of the episode, and the 30-something gang. Well, first, actually, let me read the comment. Alicia King says, "I thought it was interesting that Emily called Luke her partner, but he's kind of not even that. They love each other, but don't let things get uncomfortable enough to really be close."
That's a good insight, yes.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like,
I think so.
to achieve that closeness and intimacy, you have to have a certain amount of conflict. Like, you just do.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to work through it and
well, and people can say that marriage is just a social construct, but it is. I think here's the thing: when that social construct means something to the social, to you can't take away that not doing it means something, and it does affect your relationship. You know what I mean? And so, like, when you're not willing to make that, even if you think that commitment is stupid, when you're not willing to make it, it affects the relationship. I mean, I'm not married, but that's just what I think.
I agree. It's funny because people say, "Oh, well, marriage is a social construct." Yes, it is, and that's exactly why it's important.
Right.
Like, we give it its importance, and I think even by denying it, by saying, "No, I'm not going to get married," you're giving it importance then too, and giving it power, basically.
Right.
And that's kind of what she's doing, is saying, I'm not willing to marry you, but I am willing to give you a little bit. Here's some scraps, buddy.
Right. Yeah. Which is all the more reason for him to be like, "No, this is mine. Leave." You know, we're not committed. Like, we have not, made that commitment to each other. And I don't know. That's just always kind of a thing. I would think.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah. Anyway, so okay, let's. So, what did you think of this idea of Rory being back?
I liked it.
Yeah.
I thought it was I think it's something that a lot of people in their early 30s and around Rory's supposed age can relate to.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately.
Yep. Yeah. So the 30-something gang, I think that I can certainly relate to that. I mean, I've never moved back home in my life, so I can't relate to that part of it. I was always pretty independent, but I guess I had a certain degree of safety blanket when it comes to work and things like that. So maybe I was lucky that I didn't need to do that. But yeah, I mean, I think that that is definitely a phenomenon that's happening all over the place. I mean, there are way more people that are delaying marriage or don't feel the need for marriage and are living at home and, still sort of maintaining almost that sort of group identity that they would have had in high school through various groups.
Yeah, and you have the added issue of, like, the economy just hasn't really been great for quite a while now.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we say unemployment rates are supposedly better than they used to be, but we also have a much bigger number of people who have just simply exited the workforce. Mm-hmm. So those unemployment numbers don't tell you as much as maybe they once did.
Well, and also, like, the reality of the fact that college basically practically means nothing now. I mean, nobody loved college more than I did. I loved college, but it's just a reality of the fact that a college degree is not going to get you that much anymore unless they're just very few.
It's more expensive than ever to get one.
And so a lot of people have these student loans and they can't pay them back, and so they have to live at home. They don't have any other choice.
There's less of a guarantee of a good job after college than there's ever been before. So
yeah.
I mean, it's just the reality we're living in.
I mean, if you go to a private college, you could end up with over $100,000 of student loan easily. Mm-hmm. and have no job. So
yeah.
It's
true.
It's a problem. So, it's a huge problem.
So it's not surprising. I don't know. I think they're doing something realistic with Rory's character. She might need to go back home. The unrealistic part is she's like, oh yeah, I think I'm gonna write a book and go get a house in Queens. Like, with what money, Rory? Like,
right. You're just saying you're broke.
You're broke. You have no employment. Like, writing a book doesn't pay until after it's written.
Yeah, and even then you have to write like several books before it's like you can
afford rent on a house on any kind of basis.
Yeah, in Queens, no less. Yeah, exactly. Let's see. Alicia says, I loved the 30-something club. I'm both entertained by it and embarrassed by it because so many of our generation are actually like that. The parents of 30-somethings were funny too and pretty accurate. The first generation of helicopter parents, I think.
Yeah, that's probably true too.
Yeah.
It's kind of an
and I mean, we live in an era where people have one or two kids a lot of times, and so and which is awesome. But as opposed to like my mom's family of 8 kids, and so I think that sounds weird. Not that my mom was like given the short end, or I'm from a family of 6 kids, but I do think there is something to the fact that like you can't have 6 kids living at home in their 30s. You know what I mean? Like you're not going to have three adult children sharing a room, like that's not going to happen. Well,
even as a teenager, like you can't pay for 4 or 5 teenagers to be able to go to the movies every weekend. You can't pay for 4 or 5 teenagers to have $150 pair of Nike shoes,
Right.
Where even a middle-class family with 1 child can reasonably afford those things for the most part.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I thought it was, I think that she should have, I wonder if she will, like in the next couple of months, she will give the 30-something gang a shot, because she was pretty dismissive of them.
She was. And honestly, like, Rory's led a pretty charmed life. Mm-hmm. Yes, she grew up with a single mother, but then she was handed a lot. And Lorelai made sure that she was handed a lot. And I don't know, Lorelai wasn't quite the helicopter parent.
Right.
But she still was an only child. She still was spoiled in a lot of the way these other 30-something gangers would have been. Mm-hmm. So it seems like she'd fit in with them.
Yeah, they seem nice.
Probably smarter than most of them, but still.
I mean, what are you gonna do? You got to be happy. So
yeah. And why not hang out with people you can relate to?
Exactly, and like, instead of just being miserable.
Yeah.
Thinking about the fact you're not married or whatever. I've certainly been with my share of those kinds of singles, and I prefer the 30-something gang. I wish I had my own 30-something gang. What is this? I need to start it. No. All right. So let's see here. So this is jumping around a little bit, but it seemed like the right spot to talk about it. So Rory breaks up with Logan. I found this strange because she's known that he had this fiance for the whole time. Like, I don't really understand why this moment. It was she just like, because she was in. I understand that fiance was in Paris, but like, she's a 32-year-old woman. Like, she should be able to figure this out. That like he's having an affair with his fiance. Like, this should be. I don't know. I just don't understand why this was the moment where she was like, "Yeah, you really are a sleazeball."
I think it's kind of like with the whole Dean thing. She was able to really kind of pretend that things were really over between him and Lindsay until it became clear that they really weren't. You know, that she destroyed a family, basically. I think with this, it was like she never saw the fiance. They never talked about it. And now suddenly the fiance is living with him. And that makes her arrangement with him basically impossible.
Mm-hmm.
And I think reality just kind of settled in, and she went, "Oh, we need to end this." I'm glad she finally broke up with him. I'm disappointed that either one of them participated in it.
Yeah, exactly. I guess it was something about the hotel, like him putting her in a hotel. That was the tipping point.
She was like, "Oh, I can't stay at your place anymore." You know?
Yeah.
Because if she stays at his place, they can play house and they can pretend like they're together, and this is it. But if she's in a hotel, then she has to face reality.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I think you can sort of pretend. See, Alicia says, I think she realized she couldn't lean on Logan in hard times, and that made the engagement more real. So I think that's probably true. And Bianca says, the 30-something gang must have been her classmates at one point, but she acted as if she didn't know them. That's a good point. Certainly seemed like...
I was like, they should have been the kids from Stars Hollow High that she knew.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you think she would at least known them around or seen them around.
Yeah.
So that's true. That's a good point. Okay. All right. Let's keep going here. Yeah, I was glad to see them break up, but yeah, it was a stupid. That was a bad life choice for Rory there.
Big thing.
So, all right. So the musical takes up a lot of time. We get the Stars Hollow musical, and I really had fun with it though. It was probably a little too long, but you get to see Carole King in here, and that was fun. And Sutton Foster, who had been who had been in Bunheads, that was written by Amy and created by Amy Palladino. And so that was sort of fun to see her, and she's got such an amazing voice. I love Sutton Foster. She's a amazing Broadway performer, and who I've actually seen on Broadway, which was so cool. I saw her in the Drowsy Chaperone, so that was fun. And there were a lot of homages, I guess, to a lot of Broadway musicals in this little weird segment. You had Hamilton and Mamma Mia, and there was homages to the Book of Mormon musical or jokes about that. There was I forget all the list, but there was quite a few that were in there that I really had a lot of fun with that.
I'm not a big musical theater person, so I didn't get. There were a lot of those that just went right over my head because I'm not familiar with the musicals. There were a few that I got, but for the most part, I was just kind of like, this is funny and cute, but I don't need this much of it.
Yeah, it was really long, but I don't know. I was cracking up. I really like it, but I am a huge musical theater fan. And just each of the segments of the citizens of Stars Hollow, I don't know, it's just, I thought it was really funny. It almost felt more like a Simpsons kind of bit to me.
It had a very Simpsons-y feel to it.
Yeah, right? It seemed like one of the songs that they would do, song segments or something that they would do. Like they, it would be, Springfield, the musical.
Yeah. And on The Simpsons, they always carry it out just a little too long also.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's always just a little too over the top and a little too long.
Yeah. Because we get not only the musical, which was long, but then we get the critiquing group after, which had some good zingers, I thought, in it. Thought it was pretty well written. And I mean, you have the very funny gag of Carole King sitting there, and she plays which one's Feel the Earth Move, I think is what she played. And everyone's like, "Oh, that's not catchy at all." That's not
Right, that was really funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also actually appreciated how like they used the musical to kind of bring Lorelai down to earth a little bit, like when they brought her back in and she hears to listen to that one final song or whatever that they wanted to add on. And
yeah, I guess we could. Yeah, so well, actually, we'll do a couple other questions, but yeah, that was really good. The way that it kind of, I don't know, she sort of it. Just, I think it was another way of her saying like her realizing that I'm different than all of these people.
mm-hmm.
Like everybody else is loving this, I'm not loving it, and like why am I different? If that makes sense.
Yeah, that's true.
And then towards the end, she's different than her mother. She's different than her daughter. Like, it just keeps adding up. She's different than everybody in the town. Like,
yeah, that's true.
She's different than Luke. So that was very effective, kind of narratively. I think you're right. I agree. Okay, so, so then we have the storyline of Rory taking over the Stars Hollow Gazette. And so I guess all of her freelance work is tapped dry, but this isn't like a job, but it seems like a job. Like they have a desk and stuff. Like this seemed like a lot for a free position to me. Seems strange.
It's getting paid, but it's just like beans. It's just nothing.
Oh, it's just nothing. Okay. I was like, wow, this is weird. Like to have this all set up.
And it pays nothing. And I think that was just meaning doesn't pay well at all.
Oh, okay. Because I thought they said like $0, and but I guess that was probably just meaning nothing, like you say. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. She manages to get the paper, and she wants to do something different to it because they're going to close it down. But then people don't like the changes that she made, and there's a whole scene of her and Lorelai delivering the papers and getting calluses on their feet and stuff, going out to deliver. And yeah, was that charming to you? Did you like it? What did you think?
I liked that I thought it was really annoying actually that they're going on about how the paper is closing down, and it doesn't occur to anyone to ask Rory if she wants to do it. Like, that was so annoying to me. But yeah, I actually appreciate, like, it kind of showed that side of her that, like, she cares about her town and she cares about her roots and she's passionate about something and she's doing it for the sake of doing it, not to put a feather in her cap or to impress somebody, but just because she cares about it. And I thought that was really important. Like that gave her a lot of likability points in my book.
Yeah, because it is the first time, I think, in the series that she's really shown some kind of investment in something more than her own problems, aside from maybe caring for her grandma.
Mm-hmm.
But really trying, because that was the frustrating thing last time, is that like it just didn't even seem like she was trying at all. Like to go to these interviews and not have a single story, to not try at all with the line, story, to just was like, what is she doing? Like, she thinks this all just going to be handed to her, or what?
Yeah, it was good to see passionate, hardworking Rory again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so. And I did think it was funny. I admit this gag worked for me. The old lady in the thing that she's literally filing this paper the entire time. Every time you go see her, she's at that thing filing the paper. You're like, and then at the end they're like, you have literally been filing that the entire summer or something like that. I thought that was funny. That made me laugh. Because they're just like all old. It's amazing they got any articles at all. But I guess she went out and got like her friends, like she got what's his name, to write the review of Jungle Book. Doyle, yeah. That was pretty funny. It's like, I had to pare it down from your from your PhD thesis, whatever, on Jungle Book. Oh, so, all right, let's see here. So she meets Jesse there. So this was a big moment. She meets Jesse there, and we get to see him back. And he encourages her to write a book. And it's a classic movie and book kind of trope for writers. Write what you know. That's what he tells her. Write what you know. And what did you, as a aspiring writer in your own way, what did you think of seeing Jesse again and his sort of advice to her?
First of all, I really appreciated seeing Jess. I felt like he fit. It felt like he was naturally and casually in her life.
Uh-huh.
I like that these people are still just in her life, you know?
Yeah.
And I appreciated seeing him. And I think write what you know is, or what you're passionate about is a good starting point if you're stuck. I really do. But the idea has some potential of writing, about, obviously we're watching a whole show about Lorelai and Rory. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's the classic. You saw it in like Anne of Green Gables and Little Women, and I mean, there's a million examples. But if we only wrote what we knew, we would never have gotten Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter or kind of thing.
But it's also a trope for a reason, because there's some truth to it.
Yeah.
It's when you're stuck, it's good to go back to what you know and what you're passionate about and what you care about.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, do you think that if you were to write a memoir, do you think that your family would be like, okay, yeah, I respect you as a writer, or would your family not be happy? You don't have to call it just a broad kind of thing. My family, I think it would be very hard, even though my sister's a writer, so she would probably be okay, kind of. But even my blog, sometimes they're even though I try really hard not to, even them are sometimes struggle.
That's a really hard thing.
Yeah.
And it bothered me that when Rory took this idea to Lorelai, it bothered me that she took it to her and said, "This is what I'm going to do." She didn't say, "What do you think of this? How would you feel if I did this?" That's what I expected from her.
That's true. That's a good point. Make it more of a consultation, because I love the book A Girl Named Zippy. It's a really sweet little memoir, and it's interesting because it's written by this woman named Haven Kamel, and I went to a lecture by Haven Kamel, and she said that's the one thing she regrets is writing a memoir. She said it just was so hard on her family, even though, there's definitely some hard truths that she reveals about her family, particularly her mother, but it's still, I feel like, very, as an outsider, it's like, oh, that was so lovingly, told, and there was such a wonderful book, but she said that if she had to do it all over again, she wouldn't do it, and so that was pretty surprising, because that's her big hit, But
and here's the thing: everybody in the family is gonna have a different point of view of what the truth is.
Yeah, that's true.
That's one of the things that's great about memoirs, is it kind of gives you one person's little lens of life.
Mm-hmm.
But a writer might portray a family member as being really mentally ill, and that might not be the reality. Or
that's true, because you're also, say you're writing a book about your childhood, I guess it can be different, but in general, you're writing from the perspective of you as a child, what you thought of these people as a child. You're not like looking at it clinically or something like that.
Right. And that's, I mean, everybody has, I think, sometimes things in your childhood affected you negatively that certainly weren't intended to affect you negatively. And
Yeah.
I don't know. That's
Tough.
very tricky territory.
Yeah. Yeah, like I mean, my brother and I, if we were to write memoirs about like the exact same experiences, like as far as it would be night and day different. You know, you would feel
Yeah.
like, is this the same family? Because we're so different.
Yeah.
He'd probably take like, say, some religious experience. Might take it as something that's like this burdensome, uncomfortable, hard experience, you know, where I would take it as like this soaring, inspirational, great moment of the family, you know, just as an example.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway.
But that's just life. That's just family. And I think, I don't know, I think publishing a memoir is very, very tricky territory that I personally do not want to wander into.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. All right. So Mikkel quits, and this was a fun scene. I mean, it was sad for Lorelai, but it was fun because there's this secret bar.
Oh, yeah.
It was really fun how that was done. And so things like, again, this theme of this episode is just things are unraveling for Lorelai. Just one person after another person are kind of challenging her, or, you know, she's realizing that she kind of doesn't fit in, or they don't need her the same way that she wants to be needed, all that stuff. So this is just another example of that. And I don't know, do you have any thoughts about that?
I think she's actually being somewhat stubborn about not wanting to grow her business. And, you know, I realize she says, oh, we can't expand because we have these constraints and whatever. But I don't know. Michelle's not wrong. It doesn't help to stagnate. Like, people expect to grow in their careers. And if you want to keep people, you have to grow your business so that their careers can grow too.
Right. Yeah, like purchase another inn, or you know, or purchase the, I don't know, just find some way to kind of grow.
Yeah, find a way to grow. Find another endeavor. And usually entrepreneurs are anxious to do that, you know? So.
Because it's tough nowadays. Like, it's tough to support a family or even just yourself on any single small business, you know? It's hard, like on just your own inn, or unless you're living there at the inn, especially in Connecticut. I mean, things are going to be super expensive in, you know, that part of the country, and so you almost need to have two inns. You almost need to have two diners. You almost need to have. It's really tough unless you have, you know, family working there, or it's really hard these days.
Yeah, it really is. And I think, of course, he's quitting. Like, I think it's just a sign of her, one more sign of her sort of stagnation. Like, she's stagnated in her relationship with her mother. She's not really moving forward in her relationship with Luke. Like, it's just her kind of stubbornly digging in and saying, I don't want things to change.
Yeah. Yeah, see, Alicia kind of says the same thing. She says, it's like Lorelai is afraid to grow in any aspect of her life.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I'd written down here, Emily has stopped going to therapy, and she's angry at Luke for not telling her about the will and looking for new diners. And, you know, so and then she gets angry at Rory, and, you know, like I said, the list kind of keeps growing through the course of the show, and yet I felt so much more positively about her in this episode than I did last one, because she was just so judgmental, and even though she's having all the conflict with all these characters, I liked her much better in this episode than last.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I think she was more relatable because she was less. I don't know. It was just more just like her, her not wanting to be. I don't know how to put this. Like her struggles were more internal than external,
Mm-hmm.
even though they manifested themselves externally, and it wasn't about her being a total jerk, you know. And when she was angry at people, you could tell her anger was more about her and less about them.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, like you can see that she like has a desire to be needed, which we all do. And here you've had one example after another where people don't really need her anymore. You know, Rory doesn't need her. Luke doesn't need her help with April. Her mom is moving on, you know, with her life. You have the council on the play doesn't really need her feedback or value it that much. And you know, it just there's a lot. Michelle is moving on, you know, doesn't really need her. And so, you know, that's a tough moment for any of us in life when you realize that, oh snap, like the world will keep, like, It's a Wonderful Life is a lie.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true.
The world will keep on going just fine. um, okay, so so, um, and also I have here. Turns out Luke and Lorelai keep everything separate by her design. What do
Yeah.
you think she is afraid of? Seems like she's
Um,
protecting herself.
I think she's worried that all this time Luke has been the one, and I think she's worried that if she marries him and commits, she'll find out he's not.
Interesting.
And it'll all fall apart, and then what is she left with? She has nothing.
Yeah, I think she's afraid of. I don't know. I think she wants to keep people at a bit of an emotional distance because of. I know. I think she's afraid of that closeness and getting hurt in a way. You know, like, I mean, that's vulnerable. I think she's someone who is afraid of being vulnerable.
Yeah, she probably has an attachment disorder. Since her mother wasn't very warm and fuzzy.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's interesting. So, all right. Well, so Emily is dating the big reveal. I thought, are we going to have this whole episode with no Emily? Like, it was a long time when we didn't even see her, probably for the first hour, even maybe. And so should we find out that she is dating a man that we saw at the funeral? And oddly enough, it was I think he's the one who mentioned playing golf with Richard at the funeral, and that was his story. And
Mm-hmm.
and so anyway, she's dating him, and I kind of liked that. I thought it was sweet. You know, like it does seem pretty fast, and I can understand that would be hard for Lorelai, but I don't know. It was just kind of sweet to see her happy and to see her trying something new. It was cool for the character, I thought.
Yeah, I thought it made sense for her to be dating, absolutely. I mean, at this point, do we know when Richard died? We know it was before the winter episode, maybe that fall.
It was definitely before a winter episode. Um,
I'm trying to think of what the season was like when they flashed back to it. Maybe it was that summer.
oh yeah.
Because they were outside on the porch, on the patio.
I don't know if it was too far before though, because it seemed like in winter they were just sort of talking again and just sort of, so I don't think it had been like a year or something. I think it had been, yeah, either in the fall or the summer.
Yeah, late summer, fall, somewhere in there.
Oh, it looks. Let's see. Alicia says 4 months before the winter episode.
Ah, thank you, Alicia, for your. She has a mind for details and she remembers every single thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so if it was 4 months before then, it would probably have been around September-ish.
Yeah.
October.
Okay. Yeah.
So
Interesting.
the end of summer is gonna be 9 months or so after Richard's death, which really isn't that close.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you've had to. So your mom, you had a single mom, right? Correct.
Mm-hmm.
So have you had to experience like your mom dating and
A little bit, yeah. She did date a little bit when I was like a teenager.
Was that hard for you?
It was weird. It was weird, but it wasn't. I don't know. It didn't really bother me. It just felt really strange. It was one of those. Whoa! Like, can you imagine your mom kissing someone other than your dad?
Yeah.
It's just like kind of mind-boggling at first. But it didn't.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it bothered me. Like, I wasn't angry about it or anything like that.
Okay.
If it had been because of death, like if my dad had died and that's why she was in the position to be dating again, it might have been different, but I don't know.
Do you think that would be harder or not as hard? I think it would be harder.
I think it would be harder because even especially like if you believe that those relationships extend beyond life, like
yeah, that's true.
Especially in a kid mind, it would be like,
yeah,
he's still your husband.
Yeah,
that would be hard.
That's a good point. So Alicia says Emily needs to stay away from that Jack fella. He's super bad guy in Burn Notice. Show, I think I've seen him before in like 24 or some other. I know I've seen him in shows before. So
right. No, he wasn't 24. Jeremy pointed that out.
Right? Okay, good. I thought so.
He played an evil president in that too.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, good. Yeah, I thought he was the evil president. I wasn't sure. Yeah, she should be very careful then. Although I think Emily could stand her own with the evil president.
That's true. If anybody could take him, it would be her.
Yeah. All right. So, Lorelai and we already talked about this a little bit, but Lorelai and Rory fight over the book. Did it surprise you that for them to have this kind of a fight? Because again, I'm more of a casual fan, but I was reading one article, I think it was the EW.com's review, and they were like, "Holy cow, we've never seen a fight like this between Rory and Lorelai." Would you agree with that? How did you think?
No, that's not accurate at all. They've had several fights like this. I think it's a very realistic fight in their relationship, and also we're at a point where they had the fight at the cemetery. Emily's there, right?
Yeah,
because they're looking at the headstone. Emily's acting cranky.
Well, Emily had left to go fix the problem because they kept having the problem with these cemetery markers, and I guess it had one quotation instead of two around it or something.
And this is like the fifth one or something. But it made sense. I mean, first of all, they're in a kind of a heightened emotional state being at the cemetery with Emily, and then on top of that, we've seen Lorelai's everything's kind of fallen apart for her in this episode. And so of course she's on edge, she's unhappy, she's gonna blow up. She's not gonna feel like having her entire life exposed. And I think she's absolutely justified in thinking Rory is insane for thinking this is totally okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it did seem like a pretty valid, kind of thing that I think a lot of people would fight over. And I'm trying to find the quote.
This is like the first thing that Rory's really like been excited about in a long time. And so it's especially crushing to her to find out that basically her mom doesn't sanction it.
Yeah. Well, and I think she used to, as an adult, Lorelai kind of placating maybe her ideas and kind of things, uh, maybe a little too much. So maybe this came as a surprise.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Let's see here. I'm trying to find um, where they say that. I was just going to see if I could find where they said in the article that they were so shocked about this fight. Um, anyway, I can't find it. Oh well. Yeah, I mean it. Did you have a side that you were kind of on one side or the other, or you thought one was more right in this fight, or were you kind of?
Lorelai is absolutely. I think Lorelai is absolutely the winner of this fight. I mean, just the fact that Rory came to her and was like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna do this," and didn't even like. It was super inconsiderate of Rory to not even consider how her mother might feel about it.
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, especially because she's talking about writing before she was born. Like
writing about Lorelai's life. It's not Rory's life. It's Lorelai's life.
Yeah. Like if you were going to write about her experiences, say at Chilton, or growing up with a young mother or something like that, like that's one thing. But if it's even before she was born, that to me is a different situation.
There's a story to tell. Like,
right. Yeah.
People should be allowed to have some control over their own story.
Mm-hmm. One quick thing I wanted to point out that really stuck out to me this episode is that I felt like the soundtrack was really strong. You had the Boots Are Made for Walking. You had a couple of other songs that I felt like, wow, that really fit perfect for this moment, as addition to the musical.
I agree.
That was nice.
Kind of like backed that up and made it even stronger.
Mm-hmm.
And
that seemed very like CW 90s music. It seemed very old school to me. All right, just last question is, so Lorelai hears a song that says the line, "I need to be unbreakable sometime," or "I need to be unbreakable somehow. It's never or now." And she decides to go hike the Pacific Crest Trail, like in the book Wild. Did this work for you, this sequence?
I really liked the scene with the Unbreakable song.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that her conclusion makes a whole lot of sense to me. Like, oh, I need to be unbreakable now, so I'm going to go hike the Pacific Crest Trail, even though I hate hiking and I hate being outdoors and I hate everything that would entail.
Yeah, I did like Luke in that, where he's like, you hate bugs, you're going to have to cook over a fire, you're going to have to be around fire, you're going to have to make food yourself. I
loved Luke in that scene. Like,
yeah, he was really good.
He's such a good guy. And he's such a good companion. Like, it kind of breaks my heart that she isn't nearly as good a companion as he is.
Yeah. Like, there's a side of me that I almost thought he'd be like, I'm going to go too or something like that. But I guess she wouldn't have probably accepted that. But just be like, I don't want you to die, so I'm going to come with you.
But he probably saw that look at her eye and knew that wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I read the Walk in the Woods, and I actually didn't hate the movie. A lot of people hated the movie for some reason, but it's not a great movie. And they changed things quite a bit from the book. But it's a similar kind of idea that he's just like feeling so frustrated with his life, and everybody, he's just stuck, and so he decides to go hike the Appalachian Trail. Mm-hmm. And so it was kind of a similar, that's what it sort of reminded me of. And I haven't read or seen Wild, but I think it's similar, but she's also trying to get over addiction and getting over some other things. And so
I'm familiar with the idea of it, but I haven't seen it already.
Yeah. It's a strong R rating. I started to watch it and I had to stop.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So yeah. Anyway, so yeah, that was interesting. It'll be curious to see where it goes, and where where Lorelai ends up at the end of the series, kind of her arc.
I think it does fit with her. Like, she does kind of have a love of the world, a love of seeing the world, and a love of travel. So, so maybe she'll really enjoy it. Maybe it'll. I don't know. It will be interesting to see how it plays out. But
okay, I didn't know that about her, that she was a big traveler.
Well, she kind of always wanted to travel.
Okay.
She, having left her parents and being stubborn and not wanting to rely on them, she never really did until, like, she and Rory go backpacking through Europe, and that was something that they had like dreamed about. And then they did it after she graduated. And then she goes to Paris with Chris, and she's like, she was really into that and going to Paris. So yeah, she does have some history of being interested in travel. So.
Alicia asks, so the story about Rory being left in a bucket, that's not something they've talked about before, is it?
Yeah, that was kind of weird. I don't know if it's if they were using that as like a silly example of a potential story, or if that's a literal story that actually happened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I kind of wish that Rory would write about her grandmother. I think that would be a much more sort of interesting, different story. And I think that with all that Emily's gone through, I think that, or write about her grandfather.
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting.
Either one of them.
It's easier to write about dead people, I think.
They can't get mad at you about
so yeah, it'll be interesting to see where that all goes. I feel much, I don't know, I was just feeling kind of like, I don't know, I was just not feeling all that positive last time. I'm feeling much more positive after this one, for sure.
Oh yeah. And after spring, Jeremy was so annoyed. He was like, as soon as we finished our chat, we went and watched Summer, because he was like, something good has to happen. I have to like them again.
Yeah, I don't blame you at all. I don't blame you at all. I kind of felt, I've kind of felt the same way. So I just needed these characters to be a little bit more likable. And I guess that works in a way, like a series, you can have those ebb and flows, in episodes. So
I agree.
All right. Well, that's the end of my questions. Do you have any other parts you wanted to talk about?
One thing I wanted to mention is I really enjoyed just the pool, and that they kept going back to the pool, and
yeah,
they talked about, like, why do people go to the pool? This is stupid. But it was funny because I was looking at a subreddit on Gilmore Girls, and people were like mad about how they were using children. Like, they made the kids serve them, basically.
Uh-huh.
And I thought it was hilarious that people were so irritated about it.
I assumed that she was paying them. Like,
right, I assumed that
like
too.
a summer job.
It's Lorelai. Like, she's over the top. She does silly things, like pay kids to serve her for the afternoon. And it's television,
Yeah. I forget. I'm surprised they didn't use those kids to help them with the newspapers, deliver the newspapers.
That's true. That's totally what they should have done.
Yeah, I enjoyed it too. I mean, as somebody who's a huge swimmer, I, of course, was very had much counter arguments I could have offered, but yes. It was fun. It was fun, and I did think that was funny too. That Luke was the one who sponsored the floaty hut.
Yeah, that was great.
That was funny.
My floating hut.
Well, and I was reading one thing, though. They were saying that maybe it was the EW thing where they were like, has there always been a pool in Stars Hollow?
I wondered that. But
what's that?
I wondered that too. But I think it's clear throughout the series that neither Rory nor Lorelai are big swimmers. So
yeah.
Even if there was one, it's plausible that we wouldn't have seen it.
Yeah. Definitely. And it did give you a sense of time. You know, they need something with summary for a summer episode.
Right.
So kind of made sense. And you have the air conditioning too. That was kind of a funny joke with the town meeting. This was a much better town meeting than last town meeting.
The town meeting was funny.
No insensitive moments.
Yeah. Oh my God.
So let's see. Let's say Alicia says they did use one kid, but then the west east thing got all messed up. That was kind of funny too.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Like west east, East Side Dental, Dr. East Side.
That was really funny.
Yeah, that was good. So, oh boy. All right. Well, where can people find you?
You can find me at Abby_kid on Twitter and Instagram, or my blog is jeremyandabbyadopt.wordpress.com.
Sweet. And you can find me at this channel, Rachel's Reviews, at Smiling LDS Girl on Twitter and Facebook, and at 54 Disney Reviews on the blog. And we've got some fun stuff coming up. Tomorrow we're actually doing The Crown discussion with Tom, and that will be fun. That's a great show if you haven't got a chance to see it. And then I am going to be doing something I still have not decided for family movie night for Christmas. That'll be on Sunday. And then we have next Wednesday is going to be my Tangled review, which will be really fun because it's one of my favorites. So that will be fun. So anyway, I hope you all have a good weekend, and we will be talking the last episode next week.
Woohoo!
Yay! Okay, hold on. Where are you? There we go.